Good afternoon, everybody. It's Monday, Memorial Day, here in Texas. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. I hope everyone is with their loved ones, and thank you to all the men and women who have given their lives in service to our country. I am a grateful, grateful citizen, and I value their sacrifice. Today we are going to do what I call a writing board. I'm not sure if it goes by another name, but that's what I use it for. In the journals that I actually have that I use myself, as they start to get chunky and we add things to them like belly bands and envelope inserts like this guy right here, if I were to take this page and, hold on, flip it over, oh, he's all attached, and try to write on that, it's going to get very bumpy lumpy right here. So there's really nothing I could do about him per se, but there's no reason that if I'm writing or drawing on this page, it has to be lumpy and bumpy. So what I'm going to do is I'll actually show you a prototype. Actually, it's not a prototype. This one belongs to a journal I'm building called Mr. Sunshine. And so this is a writing board. There's really nothing super fancy to them. You want to keep their design simple. What we don't want to do is add a bunch of stickers or embellishments or anything like that. That is just a stamp you see, and it's just covered with cardstock paper, or it might just be scrapbooking paper. I'm not sure what I used on this. But it is uncorrugated cardboard. You could use chipboard on it. You just want to make sure that it's nice and flat. And so all I would do is, if this belonged to this book, I would just put this in here and put my paper on it, and then it keeps all the lumps and bumps from underneath from bleeding through if I was writing something important or drawing or creating of any kind. So what we're going to do is we're going to create one for green eggs and ham today. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that, how to get to the end stage. So I am a firm believer in reusing everything that I can reuse. So what I've done is I've taken a cardboard box and I've just cut it up in its pieces, and we're going to use one of the smaller pieces. Now this is corrugated. I mean, it does have some corrugation to it, but it's not like a big old thick Amazon box. It's just super thin, but it's got some sturdiness to it. You want something heavier than cardstock, because what you don't want to do is you don't want this thing to have any kind of give to it, so that way it'll stay nice and strong while you're trying to write on it. So what I did first and foremost was I just made sure that this flap was going to be at least as tall as my book. I will make my writing board just as tall as my book, so it goes end to end on the paper, and I'll make it a little bit wider than my my pages here, so it goes out past this edge for anything that I might want to do there. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm just going to start by cutting off these flaps. These will go into my scraps pile. I turn these flaps into all kinds of things, tags and clusters and you name it. You just want a nice square piece to start off working with. It's about time for me to change my blade. There we go. Oh, alright, there's that. And then I'm just going to use this line here, maybe if I can see, and I'm just going to trim off this edge over here. Maybe. There we go. Alright, that little strip will go into the trash. Okay, so what I want to do is, I'm pretty sure my pages are 3 3/4, but I always measure because I've got multiple books in the works. So I'm going to go on out to 4 inches and make this thing 4 inches wide, just so that it will cover all of the underneath page that I put it on. I put it under. That was a confusing sentence, wasn't it? It's gonna be big enough. We'll just leave it at that. How about that? Keep it simple. Need to change my name to Susan. Keep it simple, Susan. almost. Okay, so we'll just put the scraps aside. So there's our basic shape. Now I'm just going to make sure that this is at least as tall, which I believe is 7 inches, but again, I'll measure just to make sure. Oh, nope, see, it's about 7 and almost a half. I'm going to go ahead and make it 7.5. If this sticks out the top of my book as it's sitting on the shelf, I am not too worried about that. I just want to make sure that it's big enough so that the surface that I'm trying to write on has enough support underneath. Okay, here we go. Alright, so we're just going to check it again. There we go. There we have it. And so then when we go in here to our book page, say we want to write here, it'll just go in there, and there you go. You have a nice surface to write on. Now, you could totally leave this, you know, oh look, it's a little bite. You could totally leave this as you want, stamp on here, and just go with the raw material. I'm going to make it pretty. You can do with yours whatever you will. Give me a minute, I gotta walk across the studio and get some paper. I'm still here. I haven't lost you. Hopefully I haven't lost you. Okay, so since our book is made from a VHS tape of Green Eggs and Ham, I thought what better way to cover the pages than maybe with some Dr. Seuss book art. So there's a lap, there's a map on my lap. Let's see if we can find us a good, oh, that's a good image. Okay, I think I'm going to use one of these 2 pages. Now, the terrible thing about it is whatever's on the back side usually gets sacrificed. Okay, so I really like that image, so I'm going to go with this one because I'm not losing too much of what's going on over here. So I am just going to, for those of you who don't want to destroy books, I advise you to look away. Okay, you can come back now. Alright, so how are we going to position this so that our image is not altogether scary? Like, we don't want half the cat's face and part of a nose. I'm focused more on the little image that they're all holding, and I love thing 1 that's down there. So I think I'm going to worry less about the cat and more about trying to get most of the 2 little people on here. Okay, so what you want to keep in mind is we are going to wrap the corners of this, so you want to make sure that you've got a little something to work on or work with on both sides. So here we go. I am going to end up ripping poor Cat in the Hat's face right off. It's a sacrifice that he is willing to make. At least I hope. Okay, so here we go. We're just gonna come over here, and I'm just trying to measure out the same size as what's over here just to keep everything on center. Okay, now I may end up using that for something. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna put it aside. If you think there's a use for it, hang on to it. This is one of those oh, what do you want to call it? You know how it's, I don't want to throw it away because I might use it for fill in the blank here. Well, this is one of those hobbies. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Hobby. This is one of those hobbies where you don't want to throw it away because you might use it for something. Alright, so it doesn't have to be perfect. We are going to make it appear perfect. Okay. So I'm going to use this side as my top side, and this side will be my back side. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to cover this with glue, paying attention to my edges, because what we don't want is anything to separate. This needs to be a rather sturdy piece in your journal. So, and a little bit of that Scotch Create goes a long way. Your board may start to warp a little bit, but don't worry, it will flatten itself back out. So now we're gonna flip this over, image side down, and we're gonna come back with this. Am I on camera? I am. And we're just gonna try our best to center it in place, because we've already made sure that the image on the other side is going to work. Okay, so now we just want to give that a good press down, and I hold it in place while the glue grabs, so that the paper is not apt to shift or move around. Now the Scotch Create glue does a pretty good job of not letting that happen. So now for the back side, since this has that that sheen on it, there's some sort of sealant. I have learned through many trials and errors that if it's got that kind of paper on it, you're gonna want something a little stronger than a glue stick to hold this side down. So this is just Fabrifix glue. It is silicone based. Okay, so we're gonna start with our 90-degree corners, and this is how I do them. Some people will come in and cut this portion out and then wrap their corners. This is how I prefer to do mine. It's easier, there's less cutting. You can fold stuff over and move on pretty quickly. Fabrifix does grab pretty quickly. You do have a little bit of time, like 3-4 seconds at most, to reposition stuff, but I just hold it in place and make sure that the glue has a chance to do its job. Okay, so once you get all 4 corners done, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so now we're going to come back, and I put my glue, I put my glue on this edge, and I'll show you why here in just a second. This is a good trick if you're making covers for old books and things. Use the weight of the object that you're wrapping to get you a nice crisp fold. So you're just going to push down, fold, push, fold, and then that way it stays right there. You're not trying to fuss with pushing it on or moving it around, and it keeps the wrinkles down on either side. Okay, we're just gonna put some glue down, and it doesn't matter if the glue goes all the way to the edge on this side, because we're gonna cover this and make it look all fancy. Okay, push, fold, press down. Nice crisp edge. Okay, now we'll do top and bottom. It doesn't take much of this Fabrifix. It is a little on the expensive side, but there's not a whole lot that I spend money on when it comes to my paper crafting. My adhesives are one of those things that I splurge on. It can mean the difference between a project that holds together and a project that falls apart. Okay. I'm just going to fold, nice, crisp, clean corner. Slide it out. Oop, that glue didn't have a chance to grab. Okay. And that's okay. It's just paper. So I notice here, my edge is folding up. That's why I use these piping bottles. It's super easy to go back. Oh, look, the whole thing's going to lift up on me. It's easy to go back and just add a little glue. And then I'm just going to use my finger to mush it down. And I'm just going to hold it in place. Give it a chance to grab. does take a little bit longer because of that shiny surface. It's not as porous as it should be for the glue to soak in and adhere. Okay, keep that in mind. And anytime you're using recyclables, keep that in mind that the finish, not always glue friendly. Okay, there we go. So now let's see. There's our writing surface. Now it is a little bit warped. It's starting to curve up this way. Okay, so we're just going to leave it sit, and we're going to find a piece of paper to cover that up with. I just have this handy laying around, so I think I'm going to use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I know this is 4 inches wide, so I'm going to cut my paper 3.5 inches wide, okay, which should give me an overlay on both sides. And then I know it's 7.5, so I'm going to go in at 7. So we're doing 3.5 by 7. We're taking a 1/2 inch off all the way around. Let's see, is that wide tall enough? No, it's sure not. So we're going to go this way. And again, you don't have to cover the back of this. You could leave it as is. If it's got some funky design on it that you really like, then by all means, leave it there. Everybody loves funky. Okay, there's my 3.5. So now I'm going to gauge this on here, because what I want to make sure and do is that it's going to come over, and it doesn't have to come over much, but I want to make sure that it's going to come over this edge of the paper and this edge of the paper, like so. Okay, and it's still going to give me a little bit of the fun design on both sides. Okay, so now we wanted, what did I say, 7 or 7.5? I want 7. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my my mat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there. Just going to use my mat as my guide. One of the great things about these cutting mats is you don't always have to have a measure ready to go, or a ruler. Okay, so there we go, there's that. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with silicone glue on this side, but for that I am going to pull out my glue book because it's about to get messy up in here. Okay, now when gluing this one down, I'm going to pay special attention to my edges and less so to the center. Whoa, 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 whoa. Calm down there, Kilimanjaro. Jeez. It's a little excited. Okay? So I'm just going to run an extra bead of glue around the edge, and then I'm going to use my my wonderful finger smearing tool. That's right, it's this guy. And I'm just going to make sure that this goes all the way around, all the way to every edge and every corner has glue, because this is the piece that's going to seal that back together. And I want to make sure that I get a good adhesion going on there. Okay, so here we go. Now try for center, but worried more about getting the edges to overlap. If it's not exactly center, yeah, who cares? The technical part of this is to seal those edges from the front piece down. I've got glue from my finger on it, but that's okay. There we go. Second, let me get the stickies off my fingers. Okay. Now, this is a piece of removable ephemera from your book, so you can put it in there, leave it in there, or take it out if your book gets too chunky. And sometimes what I have done is, if you know, this is a great storage place for this little guy, is right here between the signatures, because you've got that little bit of open spine, and since he's a little longer than your pages, he's going to want to go all the way to the back. Whereas if I stick him in a page, he's going to want to stick out further, which is fine for this book. But if you'd made him, you know, any wider, he might stick out too far for like an enclosure or something to work that way. So I store my writing boards right between signatures, and then he's tucked away nice and neatly. He won't get damaged. This one does stick out just a little hair of a bit, but it does stick out above my pages, but that's okay. I don't care. He does stick out at the bottom. I don't care. I store my journals on a shelf, very much like regular books, so I try very hard not to have anything hanging out the bottom. But you can do whatever. You can put ruffles and everything. I mean, I've seen some very elaborate journals. So this guy's a little more on the simple side for right now. But there you have it. That's a pretty simple writing board. So, you know, like I said, if I wanted to write on this page, I could put this under here, and it gives me something sturdy. Won't let my pencil or pen go through or bleed through. You know, you might have to make amends with the idea that this might get a little written on, or ink stained or something. Like if you're inking in a book, you're decorating a page, you can use this as a page protector, so that the design or whatever doesn't bleed through. Because not like this guy right here, I don't know what his GSM is, but it is not very thick, because I can see the typewriter. I can feel the typewriter images that have been punched through. But there you have it. That's how you make a writing board. So I hope you learned something new today. If not, that's okay. I'm just happy that y'all are here. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button, like and share. Give my Facebook page a visit. Dragonflyer Studios is what I'm known as Facebook too. But until next time, thank you for watching. Bye.